and welcome back. I am Yolanda Joy, and today I am so thrilled to have Ainsley Melone on with us to talk a little bit about the process that she has gone through to build up her herbal business, Curating Lucidity. Ainsley, I'm so glad that you could come on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Yolanda.
Yeah, well, it is such a pleasure. Like you've been a part of the Herbal Circle for the last few months now, and you've been posting pictures about what you're doing, getting up on markets, and like really you've kind of launched your whole business in the last couple of months, I believe. What was your official launch date? It wasn't long ago, was it? When was it?
I believe it was May 22nd that I soft launched my online store and everything. And before that, I started building up in February. Yeah.
Great. So before we do get started, do you want to give us like the quick, short elevator pitch version of what Curating Lucidity is and what you do with the business?
Yeah, definitely. So the idea behind the name Curating Lucidity is that I believe everyone has the power inside of them to bring their own lucidity to their life. So curating, the word, is basically the idea that I create these little tidbits and pieces of information that people can kind of grab and integrate into their own lives and empower them to use herbs and use nature's rhythms and cycles to kind of awaken into their own life and their own dream. So right now I'm moving more into wildcrafting and harvesting around my property. So that's exciting. My goal is to be 80% wildcrafted, and I make herbal beauty and wellness products. And I've been working on recipes for about 3 years now. And also am beginning to run community events where we can kind of get together and meditate together and do an herbal plant walk. So there's kind of a lot of moving parts right now, but it's starting to really come together.
Wow. That sounds awesome. Like, I think it will have, I think it's also part of the dream is having those different pieces that come together, like the classes, the products, and like just getting out there. And it is kind of important, I think, as well in the beginning stages to like throw everything out there and see what works, see what you enjoy doing. And while you've got that momentum, just like getting your name out there as much as possible, which it sounds like you really are doing, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk about first is really like the steps that you took to start setting everything into motion with the launch. So could you run us through a little bit what steps you took to get Curating Lucidity off the ground?
Definitely. So I think that the most important thing for me to figure out was the legalities. I think that it's incredibly important to know exactly what you're allowed to do within the confines of the FDA and what you're allowed to say, what you need to put on your labels, because if you don't have that, then, it can all be kind of torn down in one day. So legalities were really important for me. And then organizing ideas was also good. So I would create lists um, of just random ideas or like mind maps. And I'd have all these random ideas running around. And then eventually I'd go back and look at them and kind of try and weave them together. Um, Experimenting with herbs for myself was big so that I could kind of learn through practical knowledge. So whatever I was learning about business or herbs, I'd learn and then I'd apply it like immediately and put it into practice so that it would really, I would really begin to understand it and integrate it. And the balance of the artistic mind and the business mind was also key. So, being able to express my love of herbs, my love of working with herbs, and my love of bringing herbs to people, and also balancing that with, keeping track of numbers and keeping track of inventory and making sure that I'm on the right track business wise. And keeping that balance with both so that one doesn't begin to like override the other. Yeah, and also failure. I think failure is huge. Trying something, and if it doesn't work, then trying something else and just continuing to go on and reworking things and seeing what works. So yeah, those are pretty big.
Yeah, they're really, really Good step to think, because yeah, getting those legalities in place is such an important thing in the beginning. And then I love what you said as well at the end, as part of like kind of accepting that failure, and rather than like bringing it, like being pulled down by it, kind of using it as a stepping stone to learn and grow from that. Like, I'm not sure if you have something off the top of your head, but do you have some sort of example where there was some sort of setback in your process to starting your business, and how you overcame that setback?
Yeah, so I guess I can actually go back to Curating Lucidity originally started for me as a health coaching business. And this was about 3 or 4 years ago now. And honestly, I didn't really know how to bring together a business at all. And so I tried launching a platform and it completely failed. I mean, it just kind of fell flat on its face. And the ideas were there, but I wasn't quite ready. So um, the way that I kind of worked through that was I took those 3 years in between then and now launching the herbal side of my business to get to know myself better, and also to begin to understand business better and understand how to connect with others better. And kind of just took it as a time to really dig deep into my soul and figure out, what I really wanted to do. And then all of those things kind of came together for me. And I was ready after a big utter failure to use the lessons that I learned and what I did wrong previously, or not wrong necessarily, but what I did that didn't work for me, and then remake it and launch it.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that it's not wrong. Like, it's just like not quite right at that moment in time. And it was a learning to change slightly up for what works best now. Like, it's such a evolving process, and just being able to yeah, to pivot and change according to the what's going on around you is so important. And I think, yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that example. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
The like I also I One of the things that I really admire about the way you're kind of getting yourself out there is the way you're presenting your business. And I particularly loved the images that you showed of your market stall setup, that you like, just I think in the last over this summer you've been going to markets to get your products out there again. And
Mhm.
yeah, the presentation has been really lovely and light and bright, and I think an inviting kind of thing from the images that you've shared. But like, I thought it would be really nice if you could share a little bit about, like, yeah, how you've gone about getting accepted into markets, and also like what the process has been like, kind of getting set up and starting your very first markets as well.
So I think it was back in March or April, I began to research markets in my area. And I found a couple that I had liked and kind of put them on a list in the back of my head. And I went actually onto YouTube and looked up different farmers market vendors and what they said they were doing to be successful. So there's like, meat farmers market people and produce and yada yada. And they gave really good tips for farmers markets that I ended up applying. So like keeping things stacked and making sure they kind of pop out at people and that they have height on them, and how to draw people into your table, and things like that. So I actually kind of learned how to be successful by looking at other people on YouTube and what that they were doing, which was really helpful. And the markets, initially I started out, like I said, with a list and wrote, and I applied for one, and I did that one, which was, it was good. It was really successful, but it was on a weekday. And I was having issues with childcare. So I had to reorganize that, and actually ended up being invited to a market last weekend and this weekend. So now I'm not even applying, I'm getting invited. And it's working with my schedule because they're on weekends. So I'm kind of just taking what I can with what works with my schedule. So um, yeah, but the application process for the first one that I did was really simple. It was like an online form, and you submit the form and you submit your fee, and then you get an email that you've been accepted. And um, I also looked at a list of exactly what to bring to a farmer's market. So you want to make sure that your tent isn't going to fly away. So I got, cinder blocks for that, and a table and somewhere to keep cash that's safe. And a square reader was really important too, I think, because a lot of people pay by card these days. And so created a list of things I needed and then kind of gathered them, over about a month or two. And I also practiced setting up my table, which I think was helpful because one, I probably would have really struggled setting up a tent by myself the very first time. I mean, I did, but at least it wasn't at a market where I was fighting with the tent for 45 minutes. Um, I was like, had one leg out and one arm out, and um, that can be a little tricky. So practicing the setup was really helpful as well.
That's such a good tip. Like I hadn't even thought about like the idea of like setting up a tent and actually doing that. Such a good idea because otherwise you're going to have all of those issues. Or if you're like missing pegs or something like that, like just knowing that you've got everything and it's all done, like yeah, it's such a good idea. And even in terms of design, like I know like I don't think you did this, but other members of the Herbal Circle have done this as well, where they like literally set up their whole table and then took photos of it and like, so guys, how can we make this better? And then doing progress shots. And even like I think the more times you do it, the quicker and better you would get at setting it up as well. But like yeah, it's also cool that you mentioned how you learned from people on YouTube, like those tips as far as like the heights and the stacking and tent weights and all of those things, because you can learn a lot just by gathering information without that practice, so that you're kind of pretty well prepared even for your first market, which is pretty valuable, I think.
Yeah, I think I would have been really lost had I not done that. And then of course, like looking at the pictures of the herbal circle tables and stuff was really encouraging to me too, because I'm like, oh, like there's a lot of herbalists that are going to markets, and I think it's kind of becoming a lot more prominent at markets to see an herbalist with their products, and I think that's really exciting. And so it's encouraging to see other herbalist tables in there.
Yeah. Now, like we did kind of cover this a little bit before, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about like the biggest challenge you've had throughout the whole journey of growing your business, of curating Lucidity, and like so what the hardest thing has been to get your business off the ground, and like how you've overcome that particular hurdle, whatever it is.
So I think that putting myself out there has been really hard for me because I'm kind of introverted and I am not used to like meeting a lot of new people or talking to a lot of new people. And so that initially was really, really scary for me to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to try and sell my product to people I've never met in my life. And I'm going to have to make all these connections and meet market like owners and even on social media posting things. And I'm like, what if someone hates this? Or what if they think it's like weird or, terrible or whatever? And so initially that was really holding me back. I think I kind of wasn't fully like expressing what I was trying to do or anything because I'm kind of introverted. And so I'm not used to that. It was scary. And so taking little steps at a time, and connecting with one person in my community that maybe it has some herbal knowledge and kind of has like some similar personality traits, and then connecting with them and building a relationship there. And then, the confidence is built a little bit, or just posting on my business page whatever is really coming through me, like artistically to say, and just letting it flow and letting it come out and just letting it go out, and if no one sees it and no one likes it, whatever, like I've done it and that confidence is built that little bit. And doing the market, just doing it and just trying it. And I think a lot of what I've learned through doing that and just these little steps at a time is that it's a lot easier than I thought it would be. It's not as scary as my mind was trying to tell me it was going to be. And just building that trust with myself and with others, little pieces at a time, makes it less daunting than just like throwing myself into everything at once and expecting it to be comfortable, all the time.
So first of all, so many herbalists are on the introverted side and struggle with getting out there, but often they're like actually doing it, you kind of realize that they're kind of like imagined fears, like it's actually not that bad. And it takes actually putting yourself out there and trying it to realize that. And so many people don't ever get to that point because they're always behind and feeling uncomfortable about putting themselves out there. And as a result, their business doesn't get out there, like what they're doing doesn't get out there. But like, that's why it's so refreshing and uplifting to hear that you have actually kind of pushed through those insecurities and realize that it's not that bad. Like it's actually a good thing. And I think it probably gets easier as well the more connections that you build and the more confidence that you build. Like those fears kind of start to dissolve a little bit. And that's that makes me really happy that you're doing that, because I think it's just so important. Like they're imaginary fears, but you're getting through them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a process. And even if something is like really uncomfortable and I do it and I'm uncomfortable afterwards, I'm like, wow, like I did that, good job. Like you did it. That's all that matters, like, and so I think it's important as a business owner to just like pat yourself on the back and like be grateful for doing what you're doing and recognizing that, like you said, a lot of people hold themselves back and don't do it. And if you're doing it, you're doing it, and that's awesome. Just trying is really good.
Yeah, you got to get out there and try before you can know if it's going to work. Like it's so important. The
Yeah.
like I also wanted to ask a little bit around, like, at the moment you've got so many different pieces of your business that you're working on. Do you have a particular direction or idea in mind for the future of where you really want to take Curating Lucidity? Like, what is your ultimate plan for the future, and what where you want to take it?
So I'm a big dreamer. So my long-term plan would be to have a farm in the Colorado Rockies. I live in the Rockies and it's tricky to grow things in the Rockies. And there's not a lot of like herbal farms out here. So I would like a farm and I would like to have an herbal garden, a big herbal garden in a greenhouse. And I would like to bring in people and help them learn about herbs and do kind of herbal walks and herbal discussions, and also sell the herbs that I make and make products from the herbs that I make. And also have like a different section of the farm that's like goats and chickens and produce, and kind of make it like a community effort where people can come and contribute to the farm, and then also, take their own eggs or come and feed the chickens and come and help with the chickens. And then, they get to take their eggs in return and kind of create like a bartering system on that side. So that's what I eventually want to expand into. And for now, I'm kind of starting to focus on maybe doing a brick and mortar until one day we can get onto a pretty big farm, maybe, 10, 30 acres, to really make that dream come to fruition. So there's a lot of little steps that I know that I need to take before we get there, but that dream definitely keeps me with my momentum.
Yeah, the being a dreamer is a great thing. And like it is about those little tiny steps that you take to kind of make that vision come alive, and it might evolve as you move forward, but having that like long-term motivation is I think that's really helpful to move through the valleys of when you're working on your business. Like sometimes it's tough, but having that long-term vision of where you want to head, and like being able to imagine that farm and people coming in and sharing that experience and like sharing with each other what they kind of contribute to the farm as well. Like that's just a beautiful vision. And I hope that with time that will be able to really flourish for you as well in Curating Lucidity. If people do want to get in touch or like find out more about what you currently do, where are the best places for them to check it out?
So my website is curatinglucidity.com. So that's my email's on there, my phone number's on there, everything's my products are also on there. So you can go to my website to read about my vision, and kind of all kinds of stuff is on there. So you can go there. I also have a blog on there, which I need to update, but there's some stuff to read on there as well. And then my email, if you want to reach out and connect at all, is curatinglucidity@gmail.com.
And what is your best-selling product, or what is your thing that, like, if someone is coming to check out their website, they should have a look at first?
So my curated facial elixir has done really well. It's a recipe that I've been tweaking for 3 years, and it's a face oil. And it smells good. It feels really good going on, and I've had customers have a lot of success with that product, and I love it. I use it every day.
Wonderful. And you can see that glowing face. But it's yeah, yeah, like I think that's a wonderful thing. And also I remember when you were talking about your markets when you went as well, I think like almost all of your products sold out on your first market. Is that correct? I think I remember you posting in the group. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So
They
it's
sold out.
definitely the word is getting out there about it anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing that face-to-face connection is so powerful. Being able to really talk to someone face to face about your product, I think is big.
So what I wanted to finish up with today is like really your top piece of advice for like another herbalist who is looking into kind of getting started and is about to launch their herbal business maybe now. Like what would be your number one piece of advice to share with them and help them on their journey of starting their business?
So I think that my number one piece of advice would be, let the spirit of the herbs like guide you, and let that integrate with your art, and kind of let those two things lead you through the process, and make it a work of art. Don't necessarily get too stuck in it needs to be this way or it needs to be that way, or I'm doing this part wrong, and just follow your heart, and really let your own uniqueness and your own individuality shine through what you're doing.
That's so beautiful and so important, I think, like the because yeah, like first of all, the work that we do as herbalists is beautiful, and like following the guidance of the plants is so important in that journey. But just like each of us kind of embracing our uniqueness and letting that come out is beautiful. And so I think that's a great piece of advice. And I think that's definitely showing in the way that you are building curating lucidity as well. Like you've got your own kind of touch to it, and even in a way that like from what I've seen of the way you set up your markets and stuff like that, it's you might have gotten those initial tips from watching YouTube and things like that, but you've got your unique spin in the way that you present it, and it looks like Ainsley, which is a nice thing. And I think that that's a great thing for all herbalists to do, I think, especially when they're starting their business, but the whole way through.
Definitely. And everyone has something to offer, and I think that each individual person is just so unique and so special. And it's so exciting when you see that come through in other people, even, in the herbal circle too. I see it really starting to shine through them and who they are. And you start to really see who people are through what they're making. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for what you've shared today. Like, I love hearing about people's journeys and how they're getting things started, and just like being able to share it on the Herbal Entrepreneur platform so that we can all come together, get ideas, and just like continue this chain of inspiration. Like, that's what I love to do. And I truly believe in what you're doing with curating lucidity, and just want to spread the goodness. Like, you're in a really good point right now. You've got this momentum up, and I can't wait to see kind of how it continues to grow and flourish into the future. So thank you for your time today. And we are definitely going to keep an eye on what you're doing into the future as well.
Thank you. And thanks for all that you do at the Herbal Circle. It's really been so helpful in my journey, and I'm sure many others. So thank you for what you do.